Welcome to Red Green Mirror Rage. Man, I hope you're excited to have some fun. This deck is a ton of fun. It is definitely a coin flip deck with no way to kind of control our coin flips, but that does not want to stop us from having fun because you can't live the dream with getting a bunch of Carnage Tyrants on the battlefield if you don't get down Mirror March first. But let's jump into the deck tech. Let's kind of break down what we've got going on. But at the core of the deck, this is a red-green ramp deck, so it's not super janky to where it's like a glass cannon deck. It's just kind of a little bit of a way for us to have a little bit extra fun by running Mirror March in here. But let's start off with the two main enchantments for this deck, and that's going to be Rhythm of the Wild and Mirror March. So with Rhythm of the Wild, we're going to be able to get this down. This is really going to help us out in our blue matchups where our opponent has some sort of counter magic. Get this down, our spells can't be countered, and then our creatures do have Riot. They enter the battlefield with haste or that +1 counter. With Mirror March, if we have Rhythm of the Wild on the battlefield, we can just pretty much give them all that +1 counter on those tokens and then start to swing it with Mirror March, and your opponent's going to be like, wow, man, this is so cool. Thank you for letting me lose this way. Now, let's move on to the main point of the deck, and that is going to be Mirror March. So this is 6 total mana, which is kind of expensive for an enchantment, especially with Mortify running around, but you can't live the dream unless you try to live the dream, and that's why we've got it in here. So, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, flip a coin until you lose a coin flip. For each flip that you win, create a token that's a copy of that creature. They gain haste, then exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. So, long story short, we have Mirror March on the battlefield. We go for Carnage Tyrant. We flip coins, and then if we get it right, that's a copy. If we get it right, that's a copy. And as soon as we lose the coin flip, it stops happening. There's a lot of times to where we get down Mirror March, and we get down Carnage Tyrant, and we lose the first coin flip, and it stinks. But then there's other times where we end up with like 5 Burning Sun avatars on the battlefield. So, the deck is fun to pilot. The Mirror March is definitely one of those cards that helps us win more, but it's just fun trying to get all these creatures on the battlefield. So hey, here we are. This is the deck that we've arrived at. I don't set the rules. Actually, I do. I wanted to build this deck because it's fun. Now, what are the ways that we can really kind of utilize Mirror March? And that's going to be using stuff that has some really nice enter the battlefield effects. We have Demanding Dragon, which is 5 mana. Enters the battlefield, deals 5 damage to target opponent unless they sacrifice a creature. So you can see if we just hit 2 or 3 of these coin flips in a row, they have no creatures out there. That's 15 damage to our opponent if they have no creature to sacrifice. Same thing with Burning Sun's Avatar. Enters the battlefield, so can deal 3 damage to target opponent and 3 damage to up to 1 target creature. One of the fun things about Burning Sun's Avatar is that you just get like a lightning bolt to the face and a lightning bolt to one of their creatures. And if you have some of the copies that tag along, they get to swing in for haste with the 6/6. Man, it's just, even if you miss the first coin flip, you just want to build this deck, just simply just see your opponent just be like, okay, that was 4 Burning Sun avatars. All right, what are you going to do about it? So anyway, that's why we're running them in here. They have some really nice enter the battlefield effects, but I'm telling you, your money's right on Burning Sun's Avatar. That's some good magic right there. Outside of the burn spells, we do have some kind of trample effects that we can run in here that really help us kind of take advantage of Mirror Match. We have Carnage Tyrant, can't be countered, trample, and hexproof. This is basically going to be your finisher for the deck. If we can't get down Mirror Enchantment, if our opponent finds some sort of way to deal with it, we just simply get down Carnage Tyrant. It has hexproof and trample and just, hey, try to stop us. If we do have down Mirror, then we get a few copies of it, and then that trample is really going to make a huge difference. Same thing with Charging Tuscadon. Trample, if it would deal combat damage to a player, it deals double that damage instead. So basically, it's kind of like trample double strike in a way. Whatever damage pushes past your opponent's creatures for blockers, that's going to be kind of like doubled up damage. Now, when you've got multiple chargings on the battlefield, I mean, that's pretty hard to stop. If you're playing against a control deck and they don't really have much of a board state developed, and you get down 3 or 4 of these, that's a game right there. And there's a lot of times where you can just get it down with the Rhythm of the Wild. It's got haste, and if the coast is clear, that's going to be in for a quick 8 damage. And that is it's always fun to run cards that your opponent's really not anticipating, and people typically don't see that one coming. Now, one of the other ways that we can really kind of utilize the Mirror enter the battlefield style effects is going to be some sort of value once they enter. That's going to be a Crispicula Worm. It has trample and enters the battlefield. We're going to gain 7 life. Let's say you're playing against your mono red matchups. You get down at least 2 or 3 coin flips with the Crispicula Worm. That's 7 life. The only downside is that you're not going to get that card draw whenever it's exiled because it has to die. It has to go to the graveyard. So when you exile the tokens, there's no dying effect. So just to kind of save you any sort of headache or like, why didn't it work this way, since it gets exiled, that's technically not dying. So you're not going to get that card draw Major bummer. But if that did happen, if it left the battlefield and you get some card draw, whoa, that'd be pretty good. And then also Siege Gang Commander. Whenever it enters the battlefield, we get 3 goblins on the battlefield. And then since we are playing a ramp deck, we have that 2 mana activation. We can deal 2 damage to any target. So this is one of those ways that we can simply just get down Siege Gang Commander. If we don't hit some copies off of Mirror, we can go for those activated abilities and still kind of deal 2 damage to any target. Really kind of help us clean up the board. And so, man, if you get like 2 or 3 with Siege Gang Commander, you got a whole goblin army, and that feels so good. Now, onto the mana sinks for the deck. These are the fun cards. We have Electro Dominance and Banefire. We'll start with Banefire. Banefire, it is what it is. We're in here to kind of keep planeswalkers in checks, get rid of some creatures, or let's say that we get down Mirror, opponent blows it up, they take care of our creatures. Banefire is in here just to help us close the game out. We've got a lot of ramp in here, and so Banefire is just really going to be a big damage spell to the face to our opponent or one of their planeswalkers. Now, with Electro Dominance, this is one of those cards for the deck that is, I toss it in there just to see how it works, and this works out great. There's a lot of times you get down, this is a lot of mana. You're talking about late game, where you've kind of gotten the game somewhat established or stabilized. If you have down Mirror March, you go for Electro Dominance on your opponent's end step. That's going to allow those tokens to stick around until next turn. That's going to be a very situational line of play to go for. You're going to need a lot of things to go your way to where you have that much open mana, you get down Mirror March, but long story short, you need to know that interaction because you need to exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. So at your opponent's end step, you go for Electro Dominance, you have Mirror March on the battlefield, drop in a quick Carnage Tyrant, maybe you get lucky and hit 2 or 3 coin flips. Now you have an entire army to untap with next turn and really start dealing some damage. The other cool thing about Electro Dominance is that you can simply just drop in like a Burning Sun's avatar during your opponent's upkeep and be like, hey, is this good? And then in combination with Mirror March, just makes for some crazy stuff. So, and then once again, if we don't have creatures to spell, you can just simply use this as a burn spell, and just having that free spell attached to a burn spell is a really good way. And another cool thing about Electro Dominance is, let's say that we are playing it's a control matchup, and we really want Mirror March to get onto the battlefield, we can use this. It's going to be 8 mana, but you can use this to drop any of your spells. That's the cool thing about it. Cast a card with converting mana cost X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. That's going to be enchantments, that's going to be sorceries, that's going to be creatures. So that's kind of another way that we can kind of force through a Mirror March. Even though we do have a lot of mana in this deck, we can force through a Mirror March onto our turn, and then we can cast creatures into it. So love Electro Dominance in the deck. I would not skip on those. There's a lot of times where we try to get down Mirror March, our opponent spends their resources, and Electro Dominance just helps us close the game out. And plus, it's just a fun deck. Now, I did mention earlier in the beginning of this video, this is a ramp deck, so now let's get to the ramp part. We've got Gift of Paradise in here, running 4 copies of Gift of Paradise. Serves double duty. We're going to get 3 life gain, which is always nice, especially is going to help us out in those aggro and burn matchups. And then that 2 mana is going to turn our lands into some sort of Ancient Tomb or Soul Rings, which is pretty good. And then we're also running Route. We are running exactly 2 Gruul Guild Gates in here just for Route only. I think we're only running 1 or 2 copies of it. You do want to run at least 1 or 2 gates, simply because we're running a lot of basics in here. We've still got Stomping Grounds and the other ones, but, let's say you've got a bunch of Forest in your opening hand for some reason. You do want to have access to some of those gates because it feels so good to go Lana War Elves, Gift of Paradise, and then go Route and end up with 2 gates on the battlefield. I mean, you're pretty much set for the game, and you've got a ton of mana by turn 5, so you can pretty much do whatever you want. But that's going to be the main source of ramp. It's going to be Gift of Paradise, Lana War Elves, and Route. And in fact, there's Lana War Elves right there, kind of hanging out with his knives. But that's going to be it for the deck tech. I've got some awesome gameplay videos for you coming up. And once again, if you're new to me, if you're new to my particular channel, if you're new to my standard content, I like to build decks that are fun to pilot. This is definitely a Friday Night Magic style deck. I would not take this to a Grand Prix event, but the deck is still fun to pilot. You're going to have a lot of fun seeing if you can cross those fingers and get some nice enter the battlefield triggers from your opponent. Like I mentioned, you go for Burning Sun Avatar. Sometimes you hit 0 coin flips, and there's other times where you get 5 coin flips. And just seeing your opponent's eye roll is more than enough to build this deck. So anyway, let's jump into the gameplay. Welcome to Mirror Rage. As far as opening hand goes, we've got Lana War Elves and a Forest, Incubation Druid, and then, man, we have to get really lucky and hit some lands. And then we can go Vivian Reed. Man, I feel like this is, yeah, I guess we keep on this one. No, let's go and mulligan. I thought if we just don't hit a land for some, okay, now we have no lands. Thank you. The magic gods. All right, we'll keep on this one. We've got Lana War Elves, we got Guildgate, a couple different things. Mirror March, yes, we will definitely put that on top. And so we maybe could have kept the first one, but if we just don't catch on land and we just sit here and get hit with at least just one piece of removal, we're not in a very good position at all. So I wanted to be a little bit aggressive in this mulligan with this deck, but unfortunately sometimes you run into some no-land hands. But yes, welcome to the Mirror Rage. Hope you're excited to make some copies of some creatures, and we'll see what we're playing against. Looks like we're playing against some sort of Golgari Undergrowth deck, which... it's pretty good deck to play against sometimes, and it's pretty fun. Let's get down Gruul Guildgate, and we're not going to swing in with Lana Worlds because we don't want to get in for any damage, and we're simply just going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. But this deck, man, this is a... I've started building this deck on Arena, and I really enjoy it. Sorry about that, I had to cough for a second. But yeah, this deck's a ton of fun. It is really clunky sometimes in that we may not get a super clean win, but win's a win in Magic sometimes, and even if we don't get the win, it's always fun trying to see how many coin flips we can get on Mirror Match. And there are some times with like Mirror Match to where we set up a Demanding Dragon. We want to get down a bunch of Demanding Dragons, and then somehow we just miss the first coin flip, and then sometimes you'll just simply just get down a Lana War Elves just to get it down. And then next thing you know, like you end up with you hit 5 coin flips in a row with Lana War Elves, and you have this tiny little elf army, like your own little platoon in a roundabout way. All right, opponent's going to go for old Gutter Bones, get him out of the graveyard, and then we draw into Electro Dominance. So we go Forest, that's going to be 5 total mana. That does put us in a position to where we can go for Demanding Dragon if we want to. We're at 18 all between us and our opponent, and I think we're okay. I'd much rather wait to see if we can't catch at least just one more land. And if we can catch one more land, that'll be a Mirror March. And if we can just get lucky with some Demanding Dragons. The only downside with us using Demanding Dragon in this particular matchup as kind of our big payoff creature is that our opponent does have a lot of recursion. They can bring back a Reassembling Skeleton. They can bring back old Gutter Bones who lives in a van down by the river. And so, but we can at least get some good damage going on her. So see if we hit the land. Oh yeah, I'll take it. All right, so we're going to shock this one in. Yes, we're definitely going to pay 2 life. Let's go for Mirror March. And we do have Electro Dominance in the hand. So I will say this card, you get down Mirror March, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we hit the land next turn, then we can upkeep Demanding Dragon. I mean, there's some, Assassin's Trophy. All right, so that's going to take care of it. Let's grab ourselves a land. That is the risk you take was running a 6-mana enchantment. Okay, so I guess we grab, we've got Double Forest. We'll just go and grab another mountain since we do have a lot of red in our opening hand. But unfortunately, with us getting hit with that Assassin's Trophy, that is definitely going to complicate our game plan for Demanding Dragon. Now, we can end up going for Electro Dominance and dropping in Demanding Dragon next turn, which if we don't really hit anything, we might end up going for that. The only downside is it's not going to hit that Mirror March, which we wanted to see. So that is a little bit of a bummer. And we draw, Siege Gang Commander. Okay, so you know what, let's just go and pass the turn. We've got Electro Dominance for 5 up top. That's going to put them down to 13. And at the core, this is a Mirror March deck, Mirror Rage deck, but at its core, it's kind of a ramp deck, and there's a lot of times you can just flash in Electro Dominance and just... here's it. Is this Siege Gang Commander good before we go to combat? Just flash it in and do a casual 5 damage up top. So, as far as how many copies of... Electro Dominance you can run, 2 is a pretty good number. I mean, you don't want to go overboard, but also want to have some fun. All right, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tap down Lana War Elves for 5. It's going to do 5 damage up top. That's going to put them down to 13. And then we're going to cast Siege Gang Commander. There we go. Have him pop out of the hand. Like, hey, heard there was there's some graveyard stuff going on. All right, so we're going to get the goblins. It's just dumb. All right, so we're gonna go Goblin, Reassembling Skeleton, and then I think at this point we just block on Stitcher Supplier. Yeah, I mean, because we do want to maintain some sort of life total, and so we've got Surprise Gerblins. Activated our trap card for 5 damage, and the next turn we're looking at Demanding Dragon. We can get that down, and that'll be a 5/5 flyer in the air. Maybe we could have gone for Demanding Dragon, but that was a pretty good little swing from our opponent. There was a lot of creatures on the battlefield, so I'm kind of glad that we kind of cleaned it up a little bit. This Molder Hulk is a very... I played against this the other day, and our opponent had that land that can basically just keep bringing back Molder Hulk, and then it returns land to your graveyard. It's the... Memorial to something, I think. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, they just kept bringing back Molder Hulk, and I was like, that's pretty solid. All right, so we draw into another super secret copy of Siege Gang Commander. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if we end up going for Demanding Dragon, they're just going to straight up sacrifice Reassembling Skeleton and bring it back. So we go for Siege Gang. Yeah, I think we need to go for Siege Gang because worst case scenario, that's just going to give us some more creatures on the battlefield. And we can at least activate one of the goblins to deal 3 damage to Hulk. And that way, they don't have that land just yet. They've only got 1 card in the hand. And this should give us a little bit of stabilizing at this point. But you can see if Mirror March, if it stuck around on the battlefield, we'd have a double shot at Siege Gang Commander. Can you imagine all those goblins on the battlefield? It's a beautiful mental magic picture. And that's what this deck's kind of like the Tron of Standard, but not as good, if that makes sense to the Magic people, which it may not. But that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. All right, so we're going to use the Goblin to block on Hulk. Is that how we want to set this up? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we got Demanding Dragon next turn. And you know, I really want to hold on to a lot of these goblins so we can go for an activation next turn on Molder Hulk. So let's just go and have a Lana Warelves block on Molder Hulk. Yeah, thank you for your service, Lana Warelves. But he does not have trample, so we need to stop that 6 damage. That does put us down to 6, though, with the 2 reassembling skeletons. But once we deal with the Molder Hulk, that'll definitely allow us to kind of sit... Ooh. Wasn't expecting that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's exactly enough right there. Good job by our opponent. Yeah, nice. That's going to knock us down to 0. Got a Lotleth Giant doing cleanup duty. Okay, so if you're not new to well, you know, if you're new to Magic MTGO traders, or you haven't really seen my channel, I do a lot of Commander stuff. But one of the things I like to do is I like to post videos in that if I lose, I still like to post them because, you know, if our opponent did good, then getting beat by a Lotleth Troll or the Lotleth Giant is a wonderful way to lose in Magic. So I definitely want to post this video. So hopefully we can make it a little bit more interesting going forward. But that was definitely a good shot by our opponent. Now that we know that our opponent is running Assassin's Trophy, we're just going to go and back off the Mirror March game plan. At this point, this deck is basically just red-green ramp. So, you know, Mirror March is one of those cards that just really helps us have some fun. You know, we can get a little bit of extra value off of getting some of these cards. Now, what do we want to bring in? We definitely want to bring in... we're going to bring in double Lava Coil because we want to make sure some of those creatures just basically stay exiled. Gruul Spellbreaker is something that we could bring in. So yeah, you know what? I think we would just want to go Legion War Boss. Let's go triple Legion War Boss. Bring those in. I like Demanding Dragon. I like Siege Gang. Burning Sun's Avatar. Yeah, let's go and back off. I think double Burning Sun avatars. And actually with Enraged Forerunners, with us getting down Legion War Boss, I'm going to leave some of these in here. You know, Banefire and Electro Dominance. The fun thing about this deck is we back off Mirror March, it just kind of turns into an Electro Dominance deck, which is still pretty fun. So I think this is going to be good for game 2. There's not really, you know, Gruul Spellbreaker could definitely come in, but I like Legion War Boss in this particular match because we can just get some bodies on the battlefield, which is what we want right now. So anyway, I'll see you in game 2. Welcome back to game 2. As far as opening hand goes, we've got 3 lands, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is good. I like that. A little slow. I mean, we've got Circuitous Route, we've got Gift of Paradise, so we definitely have the ramp. We just don't have a ton of action in hand, so hopefully draw into some of that stuff pretty quick. So let's go and lead off with Stomping Ground. I have that coming to play tapped. Don't really want to shock that in at this point right now. But yeah, this would have been a perfect opening hand if we had Lana Warelves in here. That would have really gotten it going. But yeah, that was a good game by our opponent. It's always, I enjoy, if you're getting into Magic, I always really appreciate if your opponent beats you in a very unique way. I always want to appreciate that. It's not fun to lose, but as a Magic player, you can be like, yeah, that was pretty good. Got hit with a Lotleth Troll for exactly just enough. You look at your opponent, give him a thumbs up. And, you know, with this Ravnica set coming out, I got into Ravnica when it first, in Return to Ravnica, which is about like 8 years ago, maybe? No, I think it's about 6 years ago. Anyway, that's when I got in. So I'm getting back into Standard with this new Ravnica set. And Lotleth Troll was one of my favorite cards when I was in there. So to lose to Lotleth Giant, I consider that a very good honor. All right, so we go Legion War Boss, I think, because that's going to give us just a ton of repeating creatures. Yeah, let's do that. We could ramp, but I think at this point, we just simply go Legion War Boss. That's going to give us those Goblin tokens. In the world of 2/1s, a 1/1 Goblin, it's definitely going to be a really good asset to have. Now, the only downside, it is going to be attacking in every single turn, but yeah, and it only attacks this combat if able. So basically, once we kind of get past this initial turn where that goblin comes down, then we're going to have that blocker. We also do have Incubation Druid to get down. So let's say next turn we go Mountain, we go Gift of Paradise on, say something like Forest. That'll still allow us to get out Incubation Druid, then we can follow it up with the Route next turn. And that'll really open us up on mana. And actually our opponent doesn't swing in at all with either of these double Gutter Bones. So I really like that sign. So we go for Mountain. I think we just kind of keep up with the ramp. So let's go Gift of Paradise on this last Forest. And actually, just in case we need access to double green, we're going to choose this second Mountain. There we go. I always get worried I'm going to click the wrong land or something like that. It always gets me really worried. All right, so we're going to go Gift of Paradise. We're going to gain 3 life, go back up to 21. We're going to attack down a Mountain for double green, like a Super Taiga, and then get out Incubation Druid. Now that will force one of these Goblin tokens to swing in, the new one that we just made, but thankfully we at least have one Goblin right now that's just going to sit back on a blocking duty. And then next turn we can go for a route, and then hopefully we can find ourselves into something like Biogenic Ooze. That's definitely one of those cards that it works out really well with Mirror March, but at the same time, once we have just a ton of mana like we're kind of working towards that right now, being able to go for a lot of those green activated abilities and getting some good oozes on the battlefield is a really good way. Alright, so we got old Gutter Bones getting a little frisky now. So let's go Goblin block on one of these, and we're at 21, so it's really not the end of the world on this. It's going to send Gutter Bones into the graveyard, and ooh, are we looking at a Ritual of Soot? Oh, yes we are. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. There's not much we can do from that. That's going to get Gutter Bones into the graveyard, and they have no way to bring it back at this point right now, but at least we do have Route to go for next turn. As soon as I saw that 4 mana, I was like, I know it's not Damnation, but like, uh-oh. I think that's going to be Ritual of Soot, and then, yep, there it is. All right, so let's go for double green off Gift of Paradise. Let's go for Circuitous Route. Now, we are running exactly 2 Guild Gates in here just for this card only. You can run a little bit more, but I just, you want to have as many lands that come into play untapped as possible, because there's a lot of times where you get to that 5 mana pretty quick, whether it's Lana War Elves or Gift of Paradise, and you would be able to get down Mirror March as quickly as possible. And then having a tap land for your lane for the turn is not really a ton of fun. So that's why we're running at least just 2 Guild Gates in here. That way we can take advantage of Route. And at this point right now, let's see how much... End Raise Forerunner. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've definitely got enough for End Raise Forerunners. They're going to get +2/+2 and gain Trample until end of turn. That's going to make it a 9. That's going to be a 3. So basically, at this point right now, there's kind of a way out, I think. And that's not End Raise Forerunners right now. So we go Electro Dominance for 6. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that actually be 7. It's going to put them down to 11. Enters the battlefield, End Raise Forerunners is going to get 9, and that's going to put Lana War Elves at a 3, and so that'll put it at 12. So depending on how they block what they get out, we do have the opportunity to potentially close it out next turn. That does leave us open to something like Assassin's Trophy, but, if our opponent's going to leave it open, we'll definitely go for it. So we've got Electro Dominance for some pretty good chunk of damage, and we'll see if we can't stick in End Raise Forerunners, depending on what they get down. And if this is some sort of big creature, at least we can go Electro Dominance to that creature and then really kind of attack their life total. But let's see. Looks like our opponent is Izoni, which is... Ooh. That's going to be a bunch of little creatures. Okay. I still think we go... Yeah, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... Because we send that damage up top. Yeah, let's go and force the issue, because that just kind of really makes it hard for them to do anything after this. And that Izoni's not that good. So let's go Electro Dominance. That's definitely going to force a block from them. That's going to be 1, 2, 3. And plus, we can still leave Lana War Elves up to attack. So we'll go double green, and we'll also tap down Lana War Elves. It's going to be X is going to be 7. The longer they sit back, they're a graveyard deck. They can definitely rebuild quicker than we can. So we just need to be as aggressive as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can exactly tap out for 4 runners. There we go. Look at that. And I love this this take on Crater Hoof. It seems like it's a pretty simple, not a simple take, but it's a little bit more fair take on Crater Hoof. All right, so we're going to beef up Lana War Elves a little bit. Oh, no, excuse me. I forgot that +2/+2 does not count in runner, so I definitely kind of misjudged that one. So we're swinging in. Everybody does have vigilance, so at least we can trade with Izoni, with Lana War Elves, and then if they want to block with any of these creatures, they certainly can. We are representing 10 points of damage, so they're going to have to see some sort of block. So we're going to see Izoni block on Lana War Elves, and we'll see if we'll get... All right, so I just love... the concept of thinking about Magic of like Lana War Elves just getting real big and buff like Hulk Hogan, and then all these insect tokens just running over there trying to stop them. All right, so we're going to trade on that one. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so we're going to get in for 7. Let's knock them down to 2. This is definitely going to allow us to, next turn, swing in with the runners, and that'll definitely allow us to get in for some trample damage, or we simply draw into something like Carnage Tyrant. That's another way. Let's say we hit something like Siege Gang Commander. We also have Banefire in here too, so getting to a point now to where we should be able to hopefully deal just a little bit of damage and hopefully close this one out. Okay, so we've got Reassembling Skeleton swinging in for 1, and I don't know what they can have, whether it's Morbid. I mean, I guess they can bring back a bunch of Gutter Bones, but they're going to enter the battlefield tapped. And just in case there's some sort of, I don't know, some sort of spell that was going to make them die. Yeah, I don't want to... I guess technically we could have blocked on that one, but we'll see if they want to spend the mana bringing back double Gutter Bones. I mean, they're just looking at 1, and at this point right now, we're going to have the trample damage, so we'll see what else they can show for it. Okay, and they're going to kick it back over to us. Ooh, and just drawn to Electro Dominance. All right, so let's just go and force the issue. They've got 1 card left in the hand, but that's a great top deck for a scenario like this. That is us right there. Just, hey, check this out. All right, so we're going to swing in with the Razors, and we'll see if they got any sort of action, and then we'll go for the Electro Dominance in response to that, if that's their last piece of whatever. And then, in true, if we're going to end up losing some... if we're going to lose to Lotlet Giant, we can definitely swing it with Razors and go for Electro Dominance. Okay, so they're going to go for Necrotic Wound. Yeah, let's just go for Electro Dominance up top. That's going to be 1, 2. Make sure they don't lose any extra life. That's going to be for 5. There we go. X is going to be 7. Pop them in for 7. That's going to be the last card right there, and that should send this one over to side. There we go. All right. Opponent's going to scoop it up. So we're going to go over to sideboarding and, just... If your opponent has 1 card in the hand, you don't know what that card is. Maybe it's some sort of life gain card. We are playing Standard, so we know what the meta game is. But if you have something like that, if you have a win condition to go for first, go for that win condition, and then force them to get rid of that card in their hand, and then go for the other one, Might as well just go and break it down like that, and Electro Dominance certainly does help us in that particular scenario. Rhythm of the Wild, is that something that we want in this one? Creatures you control have Riot. That's going to give us haste. I'm almost wondering if we'd rather just get a few more bodies on the battlefield, especially since we're not running in any sort of counter magic from our opponent. Yeah, let's just bring in the Gruul Spellbreakers. I think they fit the same purpose. We do lose the haste option, but if we're trying to be as aggressive as possible, this is a pretty good set, and it gives us some more creatures for the pigs to be happy with. So anyway, see you game 3. Okay, welcome to game 3. As far as opening hand goes, yes, we're going to keep on this one. We've got a Mana Dork. Unfortunately, it is 2 mana, but we got a Mana Dork. We do have a Gift of Paradise, which is going to give us a little bit of life gain and give us some ramp. And then, yes, Memorial to Folly is what I was trying to talk about earlier with Molder Hulk. Such a cool interaction as a graveyard person. Yeah, when I got into Ravnica, I was Golgari, and when I saw that Molder Hulk activation the interaction with Memorial to Folly in that card, I was like, oh, that's some good magic right there. I like it. All right, so we're going to get down Mountain next turn. Let's go for Incubation Druid. And that's one of the things about this deck that makes this deck a lot of fun, is I know I'm turning pages on you. We're running the Mirror Rage option of this deck, and, it's not like you're running some super janky deck that's... it's a glass cannon. We're going to lose if they have just any sort of artifact or enchantment removal. This deck, once you back them off and you just turn it into a ramp deck, you're good to go. All right, so let's get down Mountain. So opponent does have Priest of the Forgotten Gods to go for. But I think at this point, we just go Gift of Paradise. No, well, actually, if we end up going Gruul Spellbreaker. Because if we want to be online for charging Tuscadon, and this will be definitely really good in this particular matchup, deal that extra damage, we need to get a little bit of ramp. So, Now I want to keep up with yeah. Let's do this. Let's go for we're gonna get down Girl Spellbreaker. We're gonna give it make it come in with haste. We just want to be aggressive on this one. That way, if they want to throw Reassembling Skeleton in front of it, we're going to get in for 3. We just want to kind of keep the pressure up on our opponent. We can get in for 3, then next turn we can go for Legion War Boss, and then that'll definitely allow us to kind of go from there. Hopefully we run into another land. I think if we hit another land, this can be 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that'll kind of put it to where we can get down 2 of these 3 drops, and that'll really kind of open us up on mana. And thankfully, we do have Electro Dominance to kind of stop something like Vraska over there. Now, they did use her -3 to take care of Girl Spellbreaker, but we've got a ton of creatures in here, and that is the least of our worries. So let's get down Mountain, because what we can do, then go for the plus. Yeah, we definitely want to stop that extra card draw. So we get down Mountain, and this can be Electro Dominance for like 2. It's going to be 3 to Vraska, and then we can pop in an extra creature. If we go Electro Dominance for 2, no, either way, we want to get down Legion War Boss. All right, so we're going to target Vraska. It's going to be double red, and then 1, 2, and then 3. A little bit of an overkill right here, but, you know, being able to get a free spell with Legion War Boss is always something that's really nice. So we're going to get that down. Look how happy he is to take care of Vraska. He's like, gotcha. All right, so we're going to get down that Goblin token, and that will swing into Priest of the Unforgotten Gods, unfortunately. And that's how goblins are sometimes. That's just how it goes. All right, so we're going to at least take care of Vraska. We got rid of that repeated card draw source, and we got rid of that -3, because they end up going for that +2, sacrifice another permanent, draw card. They're going to get some life gain, which is not, you know, it's not the end of the world, but getting that card draw is something that we definitely want to stop, especially with something like Reassembling Skeleton. That's going to really allow them to really kind of take over the game. Not necessarily take over the game, but put themselves in a better position to take over the game. Let me rephrase that. So let's say we rip into Demanding Dragon. Okay, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we just go Demanding Dragon. I kind of like the pressure this creates. Yeah, let's do that. Because we get that down, they're probably going to sacrifice Reassembling Skeleton or not. We're going to get in for 5 up top, 5 damage. And, you know, this is one of those cards I was like, oh, this is legal and standard. Didn't know that. So, all right, opponent's going to go for Assassin's Trophy on Legion War Boss. We'll definitely welcome that. Let's grab ourselves a forest to go along with these mountains. So we're going to get down Demanding Dragon. We'll see if they end up sacrificing Reassembling Skeleton. At least that'll just kind of force them to get rid of it out of the hand or something out of there. And then... or at least go for that activation next turn. And then, let's see, I think that's what, yeah, they're going to bring it back to the battlefield tapped, and then anything else, kick it back over there. So, you know, that did get that Assassin's Trophy out of their hand, which I'm certainly happy about that, because now we have at least about a, I want to say 3, I mean, technically it's a 4-turn clock, but I think we've got about a 3-turn clock once we start to roll out some of these other creatures. And we're also at the point now where we can finally go for the Adapt on Incubation Druid, and among the... target player sacks a creature, and then, yeah, I guess we'll just go and sacrifice Incubation Druid. Yeah, we're fine with that. And that's going to give them 2 extra mana. They can bring back Reassembling Skeleton. Once we do finally find some sort of answer for Priest of the Forgotten Gods, or we can simply just get down Legion War Boss, and that's going to definitely allow us to, and I think we might end up doing that next turn, because that's going to give us some life gain. It'll also allow us to just get some good creatures on the battlefield, because once you have it down to about 2 creatures with Priest of the Forgotten Gods, you know, it makes it a little bit easier to go for some of those activations. Ooh, Girl Spellbreaker. Okay, so we're sitting at 5 mana. That's going to be getting in for 8. I feel like the safer bet is to go for Legion War Boss and then follow it up with Gift of Paradise. Yeah, I think that's going to be the better option. So let's go double green, and we're going to Gift of Paradise on this last mountain right here, because you never know, we might need that extra mana. And so we're going to get that, we're going to gain 3 life, put us up to 21. Let's go for Legion War Boss. Let's go double red and then go 1 mountain. And that way it's just going to give us some bodies on the battlefield. That's what we need at this point right now. It's going to allow us to swing in for 6 too. Swinging with that Demanding Dragon, so it's going to be 6, put them down to 11, and that really does basically just want to muddy the board up at this point. You know, even if they want to go for the Priest of the Forgotten Gods, it's going to put them in a position to where they're going to go down on creatures, and then we can just sacrifice a Goblin token. And then next turn we've got Girl Spellbreaker for a nice little Riot Trample with haste. We can swing in with that, and then Charging Tuscadon is definitely going to be really hard for our opponent to stop in a world of 1/1s and 1/2s. That's going to be a really good option. That Trample really does make a pretty big difference. You know, it's really painful sometimes because if you deal with it, it's almost kind of like double strike in a way. If the damage that pushes past, either way, it's always really hard to kind of combat that. Okay, so our opponent is going to be losing 2 life, sack a creature. Yeah, so they're not going to get any life gain off of that. And then we rip into forest. So let's go forest, and let's go double green. And let's just go Grill Spellbreaker. We just want to muddy the board up. That way, if they want to go for a Priest of Forgotten Gods activation right now, they're going to have to go for it right now. Other than that, we're going to end up with some really nice swinging in our opponent. So, okay, so our opponent's going to go for the Priest of Forgotten Gods activation. We'll just go and sacrifice the Goblin. We're going to get another one, and we're going to end up with another hasty option on the battlefield. Now, they do have 3 cards in the hand, and yeah, we're going haste on this one. All right, so we're going to push in. That's going to be 8, 10, 11. They're going to go for Necrotic Wound on Legion War Boss. Yeah, that's fine. We're going to get in with the Dragon Spellbreakers. I like that. It seems like they'd make a good duo. Could almost be like Daenerys from Game of Thrones. I can see Grill Spellbreaker riding on the Demanding Dragon. I like that. All right, we're going to put our opponent down to 3, and then we're going to go and pass the turn. So they've got 3 cards in the hand, including their draw step that they just hit. They do have 1 Reassembling Skeleton that they can go for, so we'll see if that's something that they want to go. They can bring that back. That's going to be 1 more Forgotten Gods activation, but even then, we just sacrifice Grill Spellbreaker, and that's going to allow us to swing in for 5 in the air. So we'll see what else they can get out. Maybe they have another Necrotic Wound. A target creature gets -X for X the number of creature cards in your graveyard. All right, so we're going to sacrifice Grill Spellbreaker. You can see this Priest of the Forgotten Gods is really putting in some work. I like seeing this. Alright, our opponent's going to get down Priest of the Forgotten Gods. It's going to give them 1 more mana left over with that Overgrown Tomb. And I guess that's Necrotic Wound, maybe? Oh. We draw into another Electro Dominance. Why not? Alright, so it's going to push... I love how the Magic Gods, like, you know, you go X amount of games not hitting lands, and then sometimes the Magic Gods are like, hey, here you go, partner. Here's another Electro Dominance, just like the other game. I know my opponent's sitting there like, oh my gosh, not again. All right, so we're going to go, X is going to be 5. We're going to send that up top, and we're going to get him again. All right, good game to our opponent. They're going to get it first game with that Lot Troll. We're going to top deck another Electro Dominance to close this one out. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of good mirror match stuff going, but you can see definitely what we're trying to go for with this deck. You get down a lot of copies of Demanding Dragon, and we have a lot of ramp options. You know, if you are... Typically, this deck is, if you're going to build this deck and you're going to play it, if you're playing it something that's not Tier 1, leave those mirror marches in, have some fun, get a bunch of creatures down. If you're running into a Tier 1 deck, or if you're just basically running into Assassin's Trophy or Mortify, you just kind of back them off a little bit and then kind of go a little bit more red-green ramp. And then red-green ramp is definitely a really fun deck to be playing in Standard right now. But anyways, that was a good match for our opponent. Enjoyed playing it, and special thanks to Electro Dominance for making this deck a lot of fun to pilot and finding its way to the top of our deck in games 2 and 3 when we certainly needed it. So, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.